Hello, everyone's Price Focus. It's day 2 of the Sean Dyche here at Nottingham Forest, and already the mood of the fan base seems better after his first interview as manager. Will it last, or is this just a brief hit of footballing crack, as our own Pete Blackburn put it? Joining me to give his view on what's happening at his beloved club is friend of the show, Matt Forde. Matt, good evening. How are you doing today?
Good evening. I'm very well. Very inspired after watching that interview with Sean Dyche.
Yes. Well, expand on that. I mean, it's gone down well. For people who haven't seen it, watch it on YouTube, but it's a refreshing change after the last month or so. What did you make of it?
Well, it tells you the stuff you already... I mean, we already knew that he had a connection with the club. We already knew that he was a great communicator. What his great skill actually is to say, I appreciate the history of the club, but that's not what this is about. And he is such a skilled communicator in a way that the guy he replaced wasn't. That just to have a really straight-talking guy who's not making any huge promises, but is just basically promising to do his best, is just a hugely refreshing change.
What did you make of Ange then? I know you do a decent Ange, so I might ask you to indulge me by doing it, but what did you make of his time?
I don't need to indulge you, mate. Don't you worry about me, mate. I indulge myself. My family will tell you I indulge myself whenever I want, mate. I can indulge myself now. I indulge myself at Spurs, mate. I tell you what, at the end of a second season, I always indulge myself. So don't you worry about me, mate.
I just thought he was a misery guts. Do you know what? When he was appointed, I don't remember this, but apparently I checked my phone in the middle of the night, saw that he was the new Forest manager. And my wife said, you woke up, checked your phone, and were just screaming, no, 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 in the middle of the night. And I don't really have any recollection of that. I was just gutted because it went the way that we all feared it was going to go. And I get behind every Forest manager. I want them to do well. It's our club, you know. So I wanted him to do well, but you just had that sense of foreboding, that feeling of inevitability. And it just felt like he started in a very defensive, in the psychological sense, not in the footballing sense, that he was just on the back foot from the start and a kind of in a bad mood. And you think, when things aren't going well, the basic thing as a manager to do is shower the club with glutinous praise about its history and its fans and the stadium. Like, just tell us what we want to hear. And he couldn't even bring himself to do that. And I just thought, it's a shame because I felt for him. And I was at that Midtjylland game where the stadium turned on him and I felt for him. And I never like it booing our own managers or players. And I just, I've never done it. I don't think it helps. But equally, you can understand the frustration. So I felt for him on a human level. It was immensely frustrating from a fan point of view, but I just don't think he helped himself. And what I don't understand is, and I am just a fan, I'm a moron. I just can basically tell you which way the ball has been kicked, and that's about it. I don't understand why the kind of the fetishization of having a philosophy in football has become such a big deal. And I just think surely you, in order to win games, which is the most important thing, you have to adapt within games and set up a certain way according to where you're playing and who you're playing. And just relentlessly sticking to, we always play like this, just seems mental. And it seems to kind of go against everything that you saw as a fan for years. Like, overall, you try and do that. But on occasion, in order to get a result, you don't do that. You do defend more effectively. So that's something about modern football. Maybe I just don't get. Maybe I'm wrong, but obviously it didn't work.
No. So you, well, I won't hold this against you as a busy man, but you won't have watched today's podcast yet because we do a good 10 minutes on that with Lewis McGugan, who really goes off on it about his modern football and coaching and obsession with philosophies at the expense of results, and how certain managers.
So I'm not just. This isn't just a Burke's view. This is like insider football men are saying this.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
and it's my view as well. I said it as well. Like, not that I know any more than you, obviously, but Newcastle and Villa and clubs that do well build their foundations from defending their goals, and we didn't get that. I mean, I did feel for Ange. I was talking to someone about the only moment. This is what they said, and I think it was right. The only moment of vulnerability that he showed was when that third Midtjylland goal went in and his arms were on his head and he suddenly had that, perhaps he didn't, perhaps we're reading too much into it, that moment of clarity that this isn't working and I don't know what to do. And in that moment, I felt for him, but there probably was a lack of humility was it understandable when people are coming at you all the time, or not? Do you think?
No, I think about this like politics a lot of the time. Is you've chosen this career and you're well remunerated for it. Now that doesn't mean that you deserve abuse, because I don't like that, and it's counterproductive, and it's not on. But you are in a position of responsibility, and this all flows from the top, and it's on you. And we are reacting to the results you are delivering to us, and we are reacting to your behavior in a leadership role. So you can choose how to manage those situations, and you can choose how to talk to affect what he doesn't understand. And it's the same thing I see with a lot of politicians is when you're talking to the media, you're actually talking to the fans. And I think that's something he never bore in mind. He always saw it in a way. Reminded me a bit of Jeremy Corbyn, would take every question deeply personally. And you think, however you feel about this individual journalist or whatever mood you're in, you have to remember that actually the real audience for this are the people in the stands. The real audience for this are people for whom the club is their life. It is them you are talking to. The media are a conduit for you to get over their heads and talk directly to people like me and you and everyone else who loves this club. And he didn't seem to understand that. And I think not understanding that part of leadership, I found slightly baffling for someone who's clearly a bright bloke, is managing in the modern era, has managed in Scotland and elsewhere, as well as Spurs. I just thought that was a real failure of leadership skills. Now, obviously, he's a football man first and foremost, but it was in the football. Actually, the game, it was the third goal against the Swansea. Third goal is the moment where you go, oh. And his face, when that went in, he just thought, oh, this is the way this is always going to go. I've got a horrible feeling that this is now the way we're going to be. That was mania, the ending to that game.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, he arrived looking a bit browbeaten, I thought, from the Spurs thing. I think he probably should have taken more time out of the game. On from him, though. What do you make of Sean Dyche? Are you a neutral arbiter on this? Do you know him or not?
I do, and he's such an impressive person, and there's a lot more to him than. And I think that interview showed that. He's got a lot of depth, as well as the sense of humour and the footballing nous and clear leadership ability. His judgment is excellent. And I thought there's so many things he said in that interview, particularly that point he makes about, they've got a real love for the club and appreciation of it. But, effectively, that's not what this is about. They need to deliver results, and they're fully aware of that. And I just think that he brings the right mindset. And so often in football, I guess in a way, we went through this with Psycho a bit, was that there was always that inevitability that Stuart Pearce was going to come back and manage us. And for a bit, it was fantastic. With Dyche, you feel like it was kind of inevitable, but it could have been at any point in the next 20 years, really. You think, well, at what point would the club turn to him? Well, I'm really pleased for him that he gets the chance. Obviously, he's taking over when we're in a difficult situation, but it's still early in the season. The Europa campaign is still absolutely salvageable, and he's got a squad of very talented players. This is a huge opportunity for both the club and for Sean Dyche to do something really special here, that he's not been brought in too late to actually do something really impressive. It's not just about staying up. I think there's still stuff to be achieved. And I think he's got the drive and the mentality to do it.
So that interview, it struck me as genuine. You know him. I don't know how well you know him, but what's he like in person? Do you think what he said there was genuine, or was it just polishing PR 101?
No, that is genuine. That is heartfelt, and he's a. I mean, like so many people, they're basically the same as they appear. You see their personality through the lens, and that's pretty much who they are. He's a really funny bloke. He's very bright. I mean, I've got no idea in terms of how he understands football because I'm just a fan. So I sort of defer to his experience. But obviously, the fact that he has always worked in that unit with Ian Woan and Steve Stone tells you that absolutely, they are Forest to the core. He lives in Nottingham, that club, and he was going to games all the time when it was appropriate for him to go to games. He's always cared about Forest. He absolutely loves Brian Clough. The club is absolutely in his DNA. That is not the reason he will or won't succeed, I don't think. What it does mean is that I think if we ever go through a difficult phase, the fans can always be reassured that there's someone people will never question this man's commitment. He is Forest to the core. And I think it's very rare as a fan base to get a manager with a track record who is still pretty fresh and understands your specific club inside out. So I think, all those things make it very special.
Do you worry at all that we'll end up like Martin O'Neill and Stuart Pearce? And we'll mention Stuart Pearce in a very different context at the end, because I do want to talk about him in a different way, about his son. But from this football point of view, do you worry that Dyche will go that way, or do you think this will end more happily?
I think it'll end more happily, because I think he's more recently experienced in the Premier League. He's not been out of the game long, and I just think the way that he sets. I mean, he got Burnley into Europe. This is probably the most talented squad he's had as well. There's actually huge potential for this to go beyond just keep us up and let's have a respectable season. We could still win the FA Cup and the Europa League. You know, we have to accept we're out of the Premier League title race for now, but the FA Cup is still on. We're undefeated in the FA Cup, and the Europa League is still absolutely salvageable. But obviously, we'll see how we play against Porto. But I think it's very exciting, and I kind of think we should have just appointed him straight after Nuno, really. But
we're undefeated in the FA Cup is the peak optimism comment I've heard on this podcast.
Oh, it's absolute bullshit, but you know, it's a fact. Sorry to swear. Can I swear?
No,
again? I won't swear again. Sorry.
Well, it's funny. You often, you often come on here and swear, and then you never ask me if I can swear or not.
I'm so sorry. God, it's a yob.
No, I think YouTube lets you have a couple. So I've dropped a few in as we've gone on. I think you've inspired me to drop a few swear words in and not get
okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, the algorithm hasn't come at me yet. Right, we'll talk more about Dyche, obviously, in 1 minute. Coming up, a word for the Trent Navigation, obviously. Porto game on the big screen, so you can watch it and enjoy Dyche's first match if you're not lucky enough to have a ticket. The Graz game is coming up as well. If you arrive before 5:30 p.m, you can get a free pint of Madri. And the Pizza Kitchen, there's an offer. All pizzas are 10 quid, so that's a reduction as well. So make a night of it. Enjoy the Graz game. Obviously, most people aren't going, but it should be another great occasion as Dyche settles in and hopefully takes us on to bigger and better things.
You get 5 years.
Yeah. I think, well, you see, it says on there, free pint of Madri. Dave Williams is going to watch this and maybe he won't be happy, because I think last time it was like 500 pints. And I don't know. I don't want to say you nailed on to get a free pint. So don't come at me if you don't, but I think it's 500.
Free one. My God.
I know.
Can't beat free beer, can you? I mean, I always bang on about the big shed when I'm on here, but my God.
Well, your 10 pints of Bass comment still gets used. So it's cut on a separate ad for them.
This is such a good place. It's just, I think if I was ever kidnapped and I had to sort of go somewhere in my mind to escape, I think I might even choose the big shed over the city ground. I think I would just picture myself at the big shed, having 10 pints of Bass and 10 cobs, and I would just sort of stay there psychologically until I was released.
I played that ad out on this week. It went out on Sunday. One of the Forest women players, Chloe Mustaki. Check it out if you haven't watched it. It's a really interesting interview. She, I'll get to the point. She overcame cancer at 19. She had lymphoma and terrible injuries, and she's still playing for Forest Women. So she's a Republic of Ireland international. So check that out if you haven't already. But my point was, I played Matt's ad out and said, "Oh, I bet you can't have 10 pints of Bass." And I don't think she knew what 10 pints of Bass were. Maybe it's a regional thing. She's Irish. I don't know.
Yeah, if it was some Guinness, should have known. But yeah, although it's quite big in parts of America, Bass.
Is it?
Yeah, I've been to New York. It's quite a few of the bars there. Bass was a bit of a thing last time I was there.
I thought it was just a Midlands thing. I used to work in a pub. I did a year working in a pub. I'm probably mentioned this on here, maybe with you. Same faces, 11 till 3 every day. Bass or Marston's Pedigree. I'm giving away beer ads, and they would watch racing, and they would just drink like standard 3 pints of bitter. If you drink any more pints of bitter than that, and you're going to be pissing and all sorts, it's horrible. But yeah, I'm not a bitter drinker, but that took
paradise. Paradise. 11 till 3. Bass me up, man. That sounds like heaven.
Let's get back to Forest then. So you massively buy into the romanticism, especially of Dyche and Woan. Some people on here think it's either a small buy factor or totally irrelevant, but you see a lot in it.
Well, I just like it. Mainly, it's their record in management that I think is the most relevant thing. Is the fact that they've had success as a unit, and I like their approach. I like the way that they talk about football. I like the way that particularly the way they talk about Forest. The fact that obviously they've got that connection with the club. And obviously, Woan and Stone were gods at Forest, were phenomenal footballers. But really, obviously, if they lose every game, that's not going to give us really any comfort. It's the fact that I think their talent and their record, plus that is what makes it just a bit more exciting. I mean, we're all romantics as football fans, aren't we? We all buzz off those stories. We all remember. I mean, Ian Woan, all of the goals he scored were absolute screamers. You can't scrub that feeling off. You know, whenever you see him, you remember the goal against Liverpool or Arsenal or Newcastle or the free kicks against Spurs. Like, they all just readily come to mind. And the same with Steve Stone and the memories he gave us. You can't just not feel it. But that's not the main reason I'm excited. It's I think they know what they're doing, and I think they've always wanted to come to Forest and prove themselves here. So it's cool that they've got the chance.
I think the first 3 goals I saw scored by Forest in person was scored by Collymore and Woan, and I think I was spoiled because they were all absolutely class. And I remember Woan. It was a City Ground goal against
Wimbledon at home.
No, this was West Brom away, I think, was Collymore, and then Woan, I can't remember. I was young, but it was at home, and so it takes you back, certainly. It takes you back. One of the things that's sort of thrown at Dyche, I've seen this going around on Twitter, his points per game record is quite low, but I suppose the context around that is, without being disrespectful to Burnley and Everton, they weren't great squads he had to work with. So I think you've said this already, you think this squad is better and he'll kind of reinvent himself in a sense as well, or not?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at managers, don't just replicate what they've done in previous jobs. You know, you get periods where actually a manager comes to a club and it really works. Obviously, Steve Cooper for us, that first season was just phenomenal. And
Dave
you get managers
as well springs to mind.
Oh, phenomenal! Absolutely. It just sometimes a club and a manager are aligned, and it is all fantastic. And you sort of feel like with Sean Dyche that maybe he's been appointed when clubs have been in trouble or they're trying to get promoted or whatever. He's never been given a good crack at a club that feels like, until the last few weeks, it was going places. You would have to say overall, this club still feels highly ambitious and like it's onto something. And football is chaotic, so periodically the wrong decision is going to be made. But we are generally, since Mr. Marinakis took over, on a huge upward trajectory. And his first game in charge against Porto in the Europa League. This is absolutely phenomenal stuff. And when you think of the players at his disposal, particularly players like Anderson, it's really exciting what he could potentially achieve with us. So, I mean, who knows? The main thing is, and this isn't just a Clough thing, you've got to be hard to defend against, primarily. Surely that is a good logical sense in football, is don't concede. So I think he definitely brings that. And I think we'll be harder to beat, harder to play against. And with the players that we've got, we saw what we could achieve last season, where you're defensively strong and you hit teams on the break. Is it inconceivable that basically we just do that again? But then we're better with set pieces, defending them and attacking them.
Yeah, I saw he scored 40% of his goals come from set pieces, and I'm not sure Ange actually bothered with them or recognised they existed. So hopefully that's a pleasant change, certainly. Stepping back sort of away from Dyche and everything and looking at where we are as a club now, I don't know what your WhatsApp chats are like, but I'm in a couple of non-Forest ones. They're absolutely loving it. They're taking the piss out of us. The media, the radio are absolutely loving it, that we're playing into the narrative that we are a chaotic club. And I think the last 3 months have been chaotic. Are you pissed off about that, or are you not bothered?
I don't really care about that. I just think it's kind of our home. In a way, it's like, it's our family. I don't really care what anyone else's opinion is about it. And I don't see why it really should affect anything. Also, tons of clubs get it. Do you know what I mean? Arsenal have had it for years. Spurs, Man United, Leeds will always feel like they get hard done by. I think it's because overall, we've always been quite a well-respected club. We have to accept that since all those years that we're out of the Premier League, football had changed quite a lot. It is more chaotic now. In the Premier League particularly, you are talking about big foreign owners. And if you look at Chelsea, and Abramovich used to tear through managers even when they'd won the Champions League. So this isn't unique to Forest. And I think we just have to kind of get used to that. This is part of having more of a spotlight, partly as a result of staying in the Premier League for the 3 or 4 years that we've been there, plus getting into the Europa League. that just brings more attention. So I see it as a sign of respect. I'm glad that people are taking the piss and are talking about us, because it means that we're back in the big time. If this was all happening in the Championship, no one would care. No one knew. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were in the middle of this. We were just drifting in the middle of space for years. No one could hear us scream. And now here we are. People are talking about us so much because we're a big deal. And I still think it's partly because people are slightly rooting for us. When we got into Europe last season, and, obviously the manner of how we got into the specific European competition we got in maybe upset a few people. But there was still a sense that, good old Forest, they're back in Europe. And when fans are watching us in Europe this season, they'll want us to win. Neutrals will, on the whole. So I think you have to put it all in that context, really.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right about the Championship. Like 5 Live Sports Saturday starts at noon, and I think the Championship they mentioned about 2:40 p.m. before the 3 o'clock kickoff or something. And I didn't appreciate that when we were in it, but it's the wilderness. That's why the Ange thing was that, the pundits are like, oh, it's terrible, give him more time. If I'm as a Forest fan and someone whose bills are paid by Nottingham Forest, I don't want us to get relegated. So that's the fear as well, I think. So yeah, we can't go back, can we?
No, and also, like, when pundits are talking about stuff like that, it doesn't mean some pundits are really good at telling you about tactics and formations and why players are doing certain things in games. Their opinion on whether a club should stick with a particular manager or not, they'll be less informed than the fan base, because the fans are there week in, week out, and they're hearing everything that's going on around the club. They've got all those informal information flows. A lot of the people doing Sky just aren't as connected. They're not as close to it. So on matters like that, they're not as well informed as a fan will be, I don't think. And obviously they don't feel it as much. I mean, there was just no way Ange could continue. It was clearly never going to turn around. And given that we were in the Europa League, this is an opportunity that cannot be squandered. It took us so long to get European football again. And look how chaotic the Premier League is this season. There's no divine right to re-qualify through the league. And that's obviously a lot harder now, given where we are. So let's make the most of it. Just sort of letting time ebb away for that bloke was never going to work, I don't think. So I think he made the right call, really, as soon as he could. You had to give him a fairly decent amount of time just to see. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was kind of over after the Swansea game. I think it was over after the Midtjylland game. Really, I think the international break saved his arse a bit.
Yeah, the Midtjylland game, the moment that third goal went in, he was toast, I think, certainly. So, yeah, I agree with that. You mentioned Europe then. Fantastic experience. I know you went out there. Are you going to any more or not?
I'm hoping to go. So I'm going into hospital on Thursday. So I'm hoping I will be. I'll have woken up from general anaesthetic in time to be able to watch the Porto game on my laptop. I'm hoping that I'll be sort of sufficiently healed that I can go to Utrecht away. But I don't know. I'll have to see how my recovery goes. But yeah, because of my work and stuff, the only 2 games I've been to this season have been Europa games. Have been Betis away and Midtjylland at home, which really were like such wildly different experiences. Yeah. They almost don't feel like they happened in the same year or time zone. They're just mad, absolutely mad how magical and vivid the Betis experience was, and how more emotional than I ever believed it would be. And then the Midtjylland thing was just pathetic. And I bought a half and half scarf both times. I mean, the Betis one's a nice memento, but what do I do with the Midtjylland one? That's like cursed fabric. I'm going to have some sort of ceremony and burn it.
No, that was a great trip. Are you working? We'll intersperse things, I guess, between football and life now a little bit. I don't know. Are you working more and more then since you recovered? Because I know you did a tour, and then I checked my phone, and you seemed like you were advertising another tour the day after the last one finished.
Yeah. So the last tour kept getting extended, which means I basically do the Edinburgh Festival every summer. I write a new show for Edinburgh, then I take it on tour. So each tour is a new show. So I need a bit of time in the run up to Edinburgh to write the new one. But the last one basically kept getting extended, which was a treat, but it just meant that I finished the tour and then went straight into the next one and didn't have much breathing space. So yes, my new tour, Defying Calamity, is nationwide from January to June, including a night at the Theatre Royal in Nottingham. which is, I've forgotten the date. Hang on, let me get it up. I had it all set up here so that I could sort of seamlessly drop it in. The 31st of May. So that'll be after the season. 31st of May at the Theatre Royal this time.
Nice. Well,
it's a treat, isn't it?
It is. I'll recommend the gig. A load of us went. We had a lovely evening. So yeah, I'm sure we'll go again if it's a different thing. But if
it's a brand new show, yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. But if the tour starts in January, I mean, it does. You do. You know, you have a series of pre-season friendlies, don't you, to warm it up? So it's not like you're really off the road, even, are you?
No, that's it. So I had a run at the Edinburgh Festival in August, and then I'm working on it at the moment to kind of update it. Because obviously, politics is as chaotic as life at Nottingham Forest. So I'll have to update it a little bit, and then it'll restart effectively in January and run through till June.
I'll go back to Forest. What's a good season then from here now?
I think getting to like the knockout stage of the Europa would be amazing, and that is absolutely achievable. And top half finish. I mean, obviously winning the Europa League would be brilliant, and I believe we have the squad capable of doing it. The players haven't lost talent over the summer, have they? Although some maybe aren't as sharp as they looked, but that is often down to morale caused by management or whatever. So and being clear about what your job is. So I think, oh man, this is where I'm thick as mince, because I just start thinking, well, actually, we beat Porto, and we're favourites to win the Europa League again. Does the FA? I love the FA Cup. I absolutely love it. So win the FA Cup. Win the Europa, top half Premier League. Anything less than that is a disgrace.
There we go. Well, I thought we were going to have a discussion in the summer about what happens with Dyche, and you've set your stall out. If he doesn't win the FA Cup and the Europa League, and
Dyche, yes, we don't win the FA Cup. He's got to resign. Oh man, I just think the players are so good. We've got such great players. That's what I keep coming back to. And the fan base is still on side. And, all that magic is still there. And it's just been a little bit of a blip. The Postecoglou thing's just like, that was like our Liz Truss thing. Just like, a couple of weeks of madness. And then, let's all just move on and grow.
Hopefully so. You mentioned you're having an operation then.
Yeah.
God, that's a big thing for you. You go through all this hell and then another big op, but in the long term, it sounds like it's a good thing for you.
Yeah. How much detail are you sort of comfortable for me to go into detail?
I don't know, go into as much as you want. I'm very lazy when it comes to editing things, so I probably won't edit anything out.
Well, I try not to put people off their food. As a result of the surgery I had last time, I had the base of my spine removed, and that involved the sacrificing of the nerves to my bladder and bowel, so I've got a stoma now, and that's permanent. I have to self-catheterize in order to pee, and I'm having treatment for erectile dysfunction. And, all that stuff is good material for comedy. And actually, I haven't found them to be huge compromises or changes, which has been a huge relief to me. But the other thing I have is, because the nerves to the bladder were cut, so I have to catheterize myself in order to empty the bladder, but I have something called stress incontinence, which a lot of women have after childbirth, which is whenever I laugh, cough, or sneeze, I piss my pants. So I'm having to wear tenor pants all day. And I'm a ticklish asthmatic with hay fever, so I'm absolutely sodden down there. And whenever I stand up or sit down, I just leak a lot. So if I go to the pub and I'm drinking 10 pints of Bass, I have to take like a rucksack of 12 nappies. After every pint, I'm going to go and get changed. It's a faff. But a price worth paying for those lovely pints of Bass. So the operation I'm going to have is going to stop the leaking. So I'll still have to catheterize because I can't control the bladder. But they're going to put in an artificial sphincter. So this thing is miraculous. And I saw it up at the hospital the other day. It's like a lasso. So they're going to cut me at the perineum in between the bum and the balls. And they're going to put this lasso around the pee pipe that will inflate and therefore tighten the pee pipe so that whenever I stand up or there's any sort of movement, there's no leakage. But obviously, I still need to be able to pee, and I can't control my bladder. So I need to be able to open that valve in order to pee. So then this thing is operated by a button that will go in between my balls, in in the ball bag internally, and I will press that button, and that will deflate the hoop so that I can get a catheter down there to pee and then get it back out again. And it just works with like waters. There's like a little reservoir that sits near the groin. And when you press the button, the water moves from the hoop, deflating it into the reservoir, and then it moves back again to tighten it. And this tech's been around since the 60s. It's like old. So I'm having that put in on Thursday morning. And I did say to them, like, is there any particular time on Thursday? Forest are playing Porto on Thursday night. So if I could do me as early as possible so that I can come around from general anaesthetic and watch it. Like, okay, we'll do you first Thursday morning. So they've done us a bit of a favour. So I can watch the Porto game. But that, I'll have to recover at home for a while, obviously. And the nurse said to me, it will feel like you've been, I mean, what a thing for a health professional to say. It's going to feel like you've been smashed in the balls with a hammer for about 8 weeks.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
That would sign me up. I said, I'm a Forest fan, man. I feel like that most weekends anyway. So, yeah, that's the operation I'm having. So I'm very keen to have it because it will, 1, save me a fortune in tenner pants, and 2, just quality of life improvement, which is good. And I think it's miraculous that someone's come up with that and that these things work. I mean, obviously, I'm going to have to fiddle around in my balls.
Perfect time to go to a break. Thanks very much. We'll come back for more. I've been trying to think what's a good time to go to a break. I think this is the best. Thanks very much to Best of Blinds. If you're looking for shutters or blinds made to measure across the East Midlands and around the Notts area, do click on the link in the description. You can see the number on screen, or info@bestofblinds.com, and they will sort you out. Yeah, seamless transition there. It's funny. I mean, I message you. I know you get this a lot, and I message you saying, "Oh, it's fantastic you talk about this stuff. You're a great inspiration. You're really helping people." And I think you replied to me, "I don't feel that way. I find it mad or hilarious or something." So you just this is just normal to you to tell everyone what's going on, and you're happy to help people. If it helps anyone, then it's worth saying it, type thing.
Well, I think when I was first diagnosed with cancer, I just thought. Effectively that it was private and that why would I tell people? And then I remember being on Absolute the weekend before, and I said something like, I'm going to be off for a while because of a health issue. And then I just thought, actually, why didn't I just tell people? And in a way, I was squeamish about upsetting other people in case they had cancer or they just lost someone. I just thought, well, I've got it. I've got every right to talk about it. And then it was because I never really done stand-up about personal things before. I've always just impersonated people, and that was the sort of comedy I enjoyed doing. So it didn't really come naturally. And then, obviously, because when I first started gigging again, I was on walking sticks, and this big thing had happened to me. So it would have been weird, I think, not to mention it. And then through doing that, I thought, 1, it's a really good area for comedy. But 2, people would say stuff like that. Now, I don't think I'm inspirational or anything like that, but I kind of have to accept that for other people who feel less comfortable talking about this stuff or are worried about operations they were going to have. And it would definitely have helped me to see a comedian or a public figure talk about having a colostomy bag and stuff and saying, don't worry about it, it's no big deal. That would have definitely calmed my brain down a bit because I was worried about it and grossed out by it, frankly. So I think in a way I sort of owe it to my past self and people who feel like that, just to say, this stuff's totally fine, by the way, don't worry about it. And I realize I'm quite a positive person and that sometimes is quite unusual. And lots of people really worry about their health and their mental health and all sorts of things. So I think if you're going through it and you feel good about it, and I'm genuinely, I cannot, not only am I excited to have that operation because of the effect of it, I loved that hospital so much and the food there is so good. And I'm packing my bag like I'm going to a hotel. I'm like, right, I'm taking my Forest shirt in so I can watch the game. I'll take enough clothes for maybe 3 nights just in case. And I'm going to have the meatballs when I wake up. I'm going to have the cornflakes and the croissant for breakfast. I'm going to have macaroni cheese for lunch. I've like planned all my meals out. I think it's great. So I realise that makes me quite unusual. So then I think, well, I probably should say it so that then if people are worried, they feel less bad.
Yeah, my hospital food experiences, I don't recall such fun memories, but you've been through a lot more than I did, so everyone will let you have that one, I'm sure. Certainly.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to talk a little bit. I didn't talk on today's show about Stuart Pearce and his son. Terrible loss to the Pearce family. People who didn't see, his son Harley, 21, died, and I don't know. Like, I talk to you about life and health too much, and you probably get, it's unfair for people to assume, oh, Matt's been through a lot, we should talk about death with him. But I suppose it feels like you're the best person, the best guest to talk about it. But the fragility of life is it feels like a terrible thing. Like, someone who's had done so much for so many people in Stuart Pearce, and then to have this for it happen to him and his family is just awful. And I know that's not even a question that I'm throwing at you, and I apologize for putting you in this position, but you've sort of stared death in the face, whether you think it or not. But it's just terrible, I think.
It is, and I think I don't have kids, so I just can't fully imagine what it feels like for a parent to lose a child. I just can't imagine that sort of grief. I can't imagine how you process that. So I just can't. I think, I can understand what it feels like to get a cancer diagnosis, or to think about your own mortality. I've got experience in that and knowing how that feels. But I think when you're the person going through something, it's different. You're just clinging on for dear life, really, when you're a patient, and you're the one who's up the creek. And I think it's emotionally harder for the people around you. So I think I just can't imagine. I don't know how you ever get over. I mean, grief anyway, it is such a complicated feeling because it's tied up with so many different things. It's not just the permanent loss of someone that you adored. There is regret, and there is all sorts of other things tied up with it. Things you wish you'd said, things you wish you hadn't said. There are all sorts of other complicated feelings around loss that we don't talk about effectively. It's not just about that someone's not there anymore. All I do think is that in the grand sweep of things in life is, what do you do with the time you got here, and how do you spend it? And that doesn't mean you have to do big, worthy projects, but it does mean that I think that you never know. You just never know when bad news is going to come. And I know so many people that have good lives in various ways who kind of worry about, oh, well, what if? You're like, well, what if is going to happen one day, and you'd have wasted all the good days thinking what if? So you never had a good time. So if the day is good, enjoy it. And if tomorrow's bad, you deal with it then. But I think so many people fret and worry. Tragedy and loss and death are all inevitable, and they are terrible things to go through. But you kind of deal with them at the time is kind of the thing that I learned, I guess, from my experience, is that don't kind of worry about when it's going to happen, because it will, and it's terrible. But don't fret too much in the run up to that. But I just don't know how you process the death of a child. I mean, that has to be amongst the worst things, if not the worst thing you could go through. So I just feel so bad for him, because he's such a decent man. He does so much good for other people. He's such a community-minded person, and he's a very kind and decent man. And I'd met him a couple of times before I went into hospital, and he came to visit me regularly, Stuart Pearce, and he would come for, he'd talk to me for ages. And he's really wise about life and people and society. He's a real thinker, and he's got such a big heart. And he's such a good man. I just obviously just feel terrible for him. He's really is a very special individual. So I don't know, really. It's just grim, isn't it? It's really, really sad.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that he came to visit you. Now I feel like I've put even more on you.
Not at all. No. I mean, like, I'm a huge fan. First and foremost, I'm a fan as a Forest fan, obviously, and I think everyone connected with Forest, all of us just feel terrible for him. Every single Forest fan, he's an icon. And really, it's him and Clough, isn't it, really? Whichever way around you want to put them, are the Jesus and the John the Baptist, or the Paul, the John and Paul, or whatever. He's our living legend. And this Robbo and this McGovern and obviously a lot of the Miracle Men are still with us. But Pearce occupies a specific deep place in Forest hearts. And I think has been a symbol of strength, really. He will have inspired so many people, not just in his acts of charity, but like on a grand scale. The guts it took for him to take that penalty 6 years after, missing one, and the emotional outpouring after that really kind of showed what it had always meant to him. Just that passion he had for football and for the community of football and for England as a country. That makes people feel good about their lives. People will take heart from Stuart Pearce and the strength that he showed on the pitch. When footballers inspire you, it's not just, it was a great goal or it won the game or whatever. It's beyond that. There's something about the human spirit. It makes you feel good about being alive at the same time as people like that. And in some way, you take some sort of strength when you're in difficulty from it. So for the person that gave us strength when we were fans, was like our leader and kept us going emotionally, to think that he's now in an hour of need, I think it's very difficult for fans to process that. I think everyone just feels terrible for him.
I think so. I'll move it away from that because we can't end on such a sad note, although I think you spoke wonderfully well there, certainly. Let's finish just talking a bit about Forest on one more question then. And if any transition, I'm a terrible host for these kind of things. Any transition away from an awful thing sounds crass, but I'll move it back to Forest for today.
I think people appreciate that, you've got to talk about these things, and then it's always difficult segueing, but Matt, you are a good man.
Thank you.
People will detect that.
Hopefully.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Just finishing up on today as we record, because this is coming out on Wednesday, we're recording Tuesday night, just to see, and this is very good PR by the Forest media team, and they've played a good hand after a really shitty month where we just didn't see any training videos or anything of a player with a smile on their face. But the club Twitter and social media today has had actual smiles on players' faces, and Dyche has put out a really good interview. I suppose, does this feel like a nice reset away from, and not digging Ange out completely, but a really miserable just over a month? And this
is not digging him out, but what a miserable git. Is it fresher after that miserable git ruined all our lives for 39 days?
But does the season start Thursday, tomorrow?
Yeah, really. I mean, there was, the Brentford game was good. And actually, on reflection, the Palace game wasn't bad, and Betis was all right. And as an experience, it was great. So there's still been sort of stuff. But yeah, it feels like the personality of the club's back. It feels like this is what it felt like. This is how it's meant to be. This is the vibe we're meant to be enjoying. And I'm gonna have to perfect a Sean Dyche impression now. I think I'd only got an answer. Well, the thing is that people get wrong when they impersonate him is they give him northern vowels, but he's got southern vowels. So he wouldn't say we're having a laugh. He said we're having a laugh. Me, Stoney, and Woan, we had a good laugh. And it's the gruffness plus the Northamptonshire vowels. Having a laugh. And then the constant wiping, having a laugh. The constant wiping of sweat from nose and brow is that is a proto Dyche impression, which I'm going to have to obviously polish before that Nottingham gig. I think just having someone like that around just really lifts the spirits. You can just see that it'll be so good with players. And I think a lot of, and I say this as an outsider, as a dumb fan moron, is if you see what Southgate did with England, one of the crucial things was, one, being defensively strong, but also taking the pressure off the players, was obviously being intense and being clear about what you wanted from them. But beyond that, trying to let them enjoy it as much as possible. And not every manager takes that approach. And it sounds like Roberto Mancini didn't necessarily take that approach. You see those videos of Shay Given talking about it, you think, oh my God. So actually, having someone like Dyche around must be so refreshing as a player. Because you think, right, we're going to be clear, we're going to be hard to beat, and it is going to be fun. And I think, like any workplace, if you're happy to be there, I do think you tend to get better results.
I think so. Like, for seeing that, people haven't seen that Shay Given and Ned Manure clip about Mancini. I watched it and thought, please don't make this guy manager. he's turning around. They're about to win the Premier League, so no one sees it. But Manure is saying he's digging out every single player, telling them how bad they are. I remember, this is a real tangent, but I used to cover non-league football, and one of the lads from the team I played for, lovely guy, Stuart Pearce, his name was, and he told me a story about when he played for Stafford Rangers, and the manager, and I won't name him because I can't remember his name, but he had quite a squeaky voice, and he used to turn around afterwards, serious fees. I can't do a squeaky voice. You lot have got me the fucking sack, and he would say that to them multiple games. Yeah, for multiple games until he did get the sack. I'm probably butchering the story, but yeah, some of those stories make you laugh. But
yeah, you need a level of authority. Dyche has got authority in the voice. Okay, well, I wouldn't mess with him. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
He's a man. Because after Ange got sacked and the names start milling around, you're like, okay, it's probably Dyche. Then people say Mancini. You think, oh well, you know what? He's won the Euros. He's won the Premier League. I can see how that might work. Actually, yeah, Mancini. That sort of makes sense. 2 seconds of that Given video. It's a terrible idea. Please no. Get Dyche back.
Definitely. Dyche or Silva would have been fine. So there we are. We are where we are. Just before I give Matt a chance to plug anything he's got coming up, do us a favour, hit like on this. If you're a channel member, you'll get early access to this. You'll get access to our Discord server where we have some lovely chats about Forest, or give us a lovely 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, or sign up for Patreon. That'd be great as well if you don't sign up for YouTube membership. What have you got coming up? You mentioned your tour. You're on Absolute Radio. You're too busy. Obviously, you've got this health issue coming up, but once you're fit and firing and better, where can people find details of your tour?
So if you go to mattforde.com, you can find tickets for all those dates, including Nottingham Theatre Royal, May next year. I'm currently making Spitting Image with Al Murray for YouTube, where I play Donald Trump, Keir Starmer, Nigel Farage, Prince Harry. It's a podcast called The Rest Is Bullshit, hosted by Prince Harry and Paddington Bear. Well, an incarnation of Paddington Bear. He's Peruvian, so we've done him as a cocaine dealer from South America, and we're currently at the subject of legal action by Studio Canal, who today have told us that we must either, and this is their words, deliver or destroy the puppet.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. So it looks like it's headed for the High Court.
Well, the French Foreign Legion are coming around to get you. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so check out the Spitting Image YouTube channel, because it's because we're doing it through YouTube. We've just got so much more creative freedom. So it feels like it's really returned Spitting Image to the spirit of the original show.
So is this through Goalhanger Films, or are they going to be coming for you as well if you call it The Rest Is Bullshit?
It is not through Goalhanger Films. They have not threatened to come for us yet, but Al does a podcast for them, so we're hoping that that means that they will see the funny side, and neither he or I will have to be delivered or destroyed.
Yes,
by Gary Lineker.
Yeah, deliver or destroy the Lineker or Alistair Campbell puppets, or Roy Stewart one. Yeah, that'll be coming for you.
Yeah, so that's good fun. People can check that out. But yeah, the tour next year, Defying Calamity, is nationwide, including Theatre Royal, end of May.
Lovely stuff. Right, it is Wednesday. We should be back tomorrow morning with a Porto opposition preview, so we can learn more about them. They're very good, I must say, by the way of it, Matt. I don't know if you've researched them, but they've scored 19 goals, conceded one, won 11 out of 12 games, and they've got this really, really good young manager. So if people are thinking, oh, we're going to turn up and win comfortably, think again. But we're not saying we won't win, but it's going to be a real tough test for Dyche. And if we do win, it's a fantastic start. So we shall see about that. And then Thursday, post-match show, straight after the game, with Temps and Sam Collins, who is former Forest B team captain. He's only 21, but he's a very, very good talker and really interesting about the game. So do join us for that. In the meantime, thanks to Matt. Do hit like if you haven't already. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.